The rain hammered against the kitchen window like 1,000 tiny fists trying to break through. Inside the cramped apartment on Riverside Drive, the air smelled of burnt coffee and broken promises. Rachel Donovan stood at the sink, her hands submerged in cold, soapy water, scrubbing the same plate for the third time. She wasn't really cleaning. She was thinking. Her mind was a storm louder than the one raging outside. Behind her, Marcus Webb sat at the dining table, his laptop glowing in the dim light. He was typing furiously, his face illuminated by the blue screen. He hadn't looked at her in 4 hours. He hadn't spoken to her in 6. This was their life now. Silence punctuated by the sound of his ambition. 4 years ago, Rachel had believed in Marcus. She had believed in his dreams of building a revolutionary software platform called Vertex Solutions. She had worked double shifts at the diner, paid their rent, covered groceries, and even sold her grandmother's jewelry to fund his startup costs. Marcus had promised they were partners. He had promised the patent would include her name. He had promised her the world. But tonight, as Rachel dried her hands on a faded towel, she stared at the reflection in the window. The woman looking back at her was a ghost. Thin, exhausted, invisible. She turned slowly and walked toward the bedroom. Marcus didn't notice. He never did. On the nightstand, her phone buzzed. A single notification. An email from an address she didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You deserve to know the truth." Rachel's fingers trembled as she opened it. The email contained a link to a private server. She clicked it. A cascade of documents filled the screen. Contracts, financial statements, legal filings. Her eyes scanned the words, and with each line, her heart cracked a little more. Vertex Solutions Ownership Transfer Agreement. Sole Proprietor, Marcus Webb. Co-founder position, eliminated. Intellectual property. Rights, Marcus Webb, 100%. Rachel's breath hitched. She scrolled further. There were emails. Messages between Marcus and a venture capitalist named Gregory Hawley. They discussed the upcoming launch. They discussed the $15 million valuation. They discussed how to phase out the girlfriend problem. One email, dated 3 weeks ago, made her stomach turn. Marcus, the board won't move forward if there's any legal ambiguity. You said she's not on the paperwork. Good. Keep it that way. Once the IPO launches, cut ties cleanly. We can't have her claiming she built the backend. She's a liability. Rachel read the words again. And again. And again. She wasn't a partner. She was a liability. She stood up, walked to the closet, and pulled out a small black suitcase. She didn't cry. Crying would mean sadness. This was something else. This was clarity. She packed quickly. 3 changes of clothes. Her laptop. A hard drive containing every line of code she had written for Vertex. Her passport. Nothing else. At 2:17 in the morning, Rachel zipped the suitcase. The sound was sharp, final. Marcus didn't stir. He was asleep at the table, his head resting on a stack of financial projections. Rachel walked to the kitchen counter. She placed her key beside the coffee maker. She didn't leave a note. Silence, she realized, was the loudest message she could send. She opened the front door and stepped into the rain. The cold water hit her face like a baptism. She didn't look back. At the curb, a black sedan waited. The driver, a woman with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, opened the door. "Miss Donovan?" "Yes, Mr. Castellano is waiting." Rachel slid into the car. The door closed. The rain continued. But inside she was already dry. Marcus Webb woke to the sound of his phone ringing. The harsh tone cut through the fog of sleep like a knife. He blinked, disoriented, his neck stiff from falling asleep at the dining table. The clock on the wall read 8:45. "Rachel!" He called out, expecting her to bring him coffee. She always brought him coffee. Silence. Rubbing his eyes and walked toward the bedroom. The door was open. The bed was untouched. He frowned and moved to the bathroom. Empty? Rachel? He returned to the kitchen, annoyance creeping into his chest. Then he saw it. The key, sitting alone on the counter like a gravestone. Marcus's pulse quickened. He spun around, scanning the apartment. The closet door was open. Her suitcase was gone. Her laptop was gone. No. He grabbed his phone and dialed her number. It rang once, then went to voicemail. He tried again. Same result. Panic clawed at his throat. He opened his laptop, logged into their shared cloud account. Her files were still there. But when he tried to access the Vertex code base, a message appeared. Access denied. Authentication required. Marcus's hands shook. She had locked him out. He tried to think rationally. Rachel was emotional. She had probably found out about the ownership structure. She was upset. She would come back. She always came back. But as the hours passed and the silence deepened, Marcus's panic turned to strategy. He couldn't let Rachel ruin everything. The launch was in 3 weeks. If she went public, if she claimed credit, the investors would pull out. Gregory Holly would bury him. So Marcus did what he did best. He controlled the narrative. At 10:30, he posted a photo on social media. A black screen. A broken heart emoji. The caption read, "When someone you love disappears without a word. I'm worried. I'm scared. If anyone has seen Rachel, please tell me she's safe." Within an hour, the post went viral. Thousands of comments poured in. "Praying for you, Marcus. She sounds unstable. You deserve better. Hope she gets the help she needs." Marcus read the comments, his lips curling into a thin smile. He had planted the seed. If Rachel came forward now, she would look vengeful, bitter, crazy. But then his phone buzzed. A notification from a celebrity gossip site. The headline made his blood run cold. Mystery woman spotted at Julian Castellano's oceanfront estate. Is this Marcus Webb's missing girlfriend? Marcus clicked the link. The article included photos. High-resolution images of a sprawling glass mansion perched on a cliff overlooking the Pacific. And there, standing on the balcony with a glass of wine in her hand, was Rachel. She wasn't crying. She wasn't disheveled. She was smiling, and standing beside her, his hand resting casually on the railing, was Julian Castellano. Tech mogul, billionaire, Marcus's rival. Marcus's phone slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the floor. "Castellano," he whispered. "What the hell did you do, Rachel?" The ocean air tasted like freedom. Rachel stood on the balcony of Julian Castellano's estate, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. The house was a masterpiece of modern architecture. Glass walls, open spaces, light everywhere. It was the opposite of Marcus's cramped, suffocating apartment. Julian appeared beside her, holding 2 glasses of sparkling water. He handed her one. "You look like you're processing." Rachel took a sip. "I'm trying to figure out if this is real or if I'm hallucinating." Julian smiled. He was tall, with dark hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. He wore a simple gray sweater and jeans. He looked more like a professor than a billionaire. "It's real, and it's only the beginning." Rachel turned to face him. "Why are you helping me?" Julian leaned against the railing. "Because I know what Marcus Webb is. I've known for years. He's a parasite. He takes credit for other people's work and sells it as genius. 3 years ago, he tried to steal code from one of my junior developers. I buried him quietly. But when you reached out to me, I saw an opportunity." Rachel had sent Julian an email 2 months ago. A desperate, anonymous message detailing Marcus's fraud. She hadn't expected a response. But Julian had replied within hours. He had sent investigators. He had uncovered the truth. And he had offered her a deal. "You give me the evidence," Julian had said. "I give you the resources to destroy him." Rachel had agreed. Now, standing in his home, she felt the weight of what was about to happen. "Marcus is going to come after me. He's already spinning the story. He's making me look unstable." Julian nodded. "Good. Let him. The more he talks, the deeper he digs his own grave. Right now, the world thinks you're a gold digger who abandoned the good man. But in 3 weeks, when Vertex launches and the system collapses, they'll see the truth." Rachel frowned. "What do you mean, collapses?" Julian's smile was cold. "You built a failsafe into the code, didn't you? A shutdown protocol that requires your authentication?" Rachel's eyes widened. She had. It was a safety measure, something she had added months ago when she first suspected Marcus might betray her. But she hadn't told anyone. "How did you know?" "Because I would have done the same thing." Julian's voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. "When Vertex goes live, it will run for exactly 72 hours. Then it will lock. Every client will see a message. System error. Contact administrator Rachel Donovan. Marcus will have no way to fix it. And when the investors demand answers, he'll have to admit the truth. He didn't build Vertex." "You did." Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. "That's going to destroy him." "Yes," Julian said simply. "That's the point." The day of the Vertex Solutions launch was bright and cold. Marcus stood in the main conference room of a luxury hotel in downtown Seattle, surrounded by investors, journalists, and corporate executives. The room buzzed with excitement. Marcus wore his best suit. His hair was perfectly styled. He looked every inch the visionary entrepreneur the world believed him to be. But inside, his stomach churned. Rachel hadn't resurfaced. She hadn't called. She hadn't made any public statements. And that silence terrified him more than any accusation could have. Gregory Halley approached, clapping Marcus on the shoulder. "Big day, my friend. By tonight, you'll be worth $20 million. Marcus forced a smile. "Can't wait." The presentation began. Marcus took the stage, his voice confident. He talked about innovation, about disruption, about changing the world. The audience applauded. At exactly noon, Vertex Solutions went live. The system hummed to life. Clients across the country began using the platform. Orders flowed. Data synced. Everything worked perfectly for 72 hours. Then, at midnight on the third day, every screen running Vertex turned black. A single message appeared in white text. System lockdown. Authentication required. Contact administrator Rachel Donovan. Marcus's phone exploded with calls. Investors screamed. Clients threatened lawsuits. Gregory Hale's voice was venomous. "What the hell is happening, Marcus?" Marcus stammered, his mind racing. "It's a glitch. A bug. I can fix it." But he couldn't. He didn't know how. He had never written the code. And then the media broke the story. A journalist had received an anonymous package. Inside were documents, emails, proof that Marcus had stolen Rachel's work. The headline read, "Marcus Webb's empire built on lies. Former girlfriend reveals she created Vertex." Within hours, Marcus was finished. Rachel watched the news from Julian's living room. She felt no joy, no triumph, only exhaustion. Julian sat beside her. "You did the right thing." Rachel nodded slowly. "I know, but it doesn't feel like winning." Julian turned to her. "That's because you're not a destroyer, Rachel. You're a builder. And now you get to build something new." Rachel looked at him. "What do you mean?" Julian smiled. "I'm offering you a position. Chief Technology Officer at Castellano Enterprises. full equity, full creative control, and a platform to do the work you were always meant to do. Rachel's breath caught. Why? Because you're brilliant. And because I believe in giving people the second chances they deserve. Rachel felt tears sting her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt seen. I accept, she whispered. Julian nodded. Good. Now let's go change the world. Months passed. Rachel rebuilt her life. She worked. She created. She thrived. Marcus, meanwhile, lost everything. The investors sued him. The company collapsed. He faded into obscurity. One day, Rachel received a letter. It was from Marcus. Inside, a single sentence. I'm sorry. Rachel read it once, then set it aside. She didn't need his apology. She had already forgiven herself. Rachel stood on the same balcony where her new life had begun. The ocean stretched endlessly before her. Julian joined her. Thinking about him? Rachel shook her head. No, I'm thinking about me. About who I was. And who I am now. Julian smiled. And who is that? Rachel turned to him, her eyes clear. Someone who knows her worth. The moral of Rachel's story is simple but profound. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. And sometimes, the quietest exit speaks the loudest truth. Rachel didn't need to scream. She didn't need to fight. She simply walked away, armed with evidence and the courage to reclaim her life. She learned that betrayal reveals character, not yours, but theirs. And that the best revenge is not destruction, but reconstruction. In the end, Rachel didn't just survive Marcus's betrayal. She transformed it into fuel for her own success. And that is the greatest victory of all.